Hello, comrades, and welcome to this video on the Russian Revolution area of Study 1. In this video, we will be looking at two key individuals from the study design, Tsarina Alexandra and Grigory Rasputin. And the subheading for this video is A Reign of Chaos. You'll find out why very shortly. So, before I start talking about the Tsarina and Rasputin, let's have a look at this postcard that was circulated in Petrograd in 1916. The caption says "holding," which is a pun on Rasputin's political influence. So you can see that Rasputin is going to have some sort of political sway over the Tsarina and the Tsar, as well as his alleged affair with the Tsarina. This is clearly slanderous and was circulated in Petrograd to show that Rasputin was really in control and to lend credence to the gossip and the gossip that the Tsarina and Rasputin were having an affair. So let's talk a little bit more about all of that. So when Nicholas became commander-in-chief, Tsarina Alexandra became the Tsar's lead representative in the capital. The Tsarina affectionately called Rasputin our friend, we'll find out why very shortly, and he became her spiritual and political confidant. He wielded enormous political influence, where Alexandra would pester Nicholas to approve the recommendations that she and Rasputin had made on policy and ministerial appointments. Even when the Tsar didn't wish to grant their requests, Alexandra was persistent and usually got her way. Nicholas admitted that one Rasputin was preferable to 10 fits of hysterics every day. So this just shows that the Tsarina and Rasputin wielded enormous political influence in the years while Nicholas was commander-in-chief. So from September 1915 to February 1917. So who was Grigory Rasputin? Aside from having a magnificent beard that he seems to be stroking, he was born in Siberia and a self-proclaimed holy man. After marrying a local woman and having many children, he became a wandering preacher, moving around the Russian Empire, preaching and healing people. He was low-born. He was from peasant stock. In 1903, Rasputin came to St. Petersburg and met many influential nobles, including members of the extended Romanov family. In 1905, he met the Tsar and Tsarina and was successful. We don't quite know how or why, but was seemingly successful in treating their son Alexei's hemophilia. So hemophilia is a bleeding disorder where if you get just the slightest cut, then you've got really thin blood, so it just bleeds and bleeds and bleeds and bleeds. So it's very dangerous. Any bruise or cut could be fatal. So Alexei's hemophilia, firstly, Alexei was the heir to the throne. He was the Tsar's only son, and so he was going to be the next Tsar. However, his hemophilia was a state secret. Only people closest to the family, to the immediate family, knew about it. And this was a key factor in the royal family's reliance upon Rasputin. Due to his success in treating Alexei's hemophilia, Tsarina Alexandra believed that Rasputin could perform miracles. Rasputin gained enormous influence over the royal family, which became a source of malicious gossip and scandal, such as the postcard we saw before. When the Tsarina assumed control during World War I, Rasputin wielded enormous influence. However, he was murdered in December 1916 by patriotic nobles, not by the revolutionaries who were about to take over, but by noble classes that were patriotic to and loyal to the Tsar. Tsarina Alexandra. So Tsarina Alexandra, remember that when Alexander III, Nicholas's father, had died, Nicholas and Alexandra got married just in that same week. So she was immediately, even before the coronation, she was referred to as the bride in black. She was not well loved by the general public, and was unpopular as well within high society. She was of German heritage. So because she was of German heritage, I mean, that in itself is completely scandalous, because Russia is at war with Germany. And so the fact that she is German, she speaks with a German accent, that made her immediately unpopular with the general public. She was also incredibly shy, and this was often mistaken for arrogance or aloofness. So high society weren't a fan of her personality. And she also took a long time to have a son. So this meant that for a long time, Nicholas did not have an heir. She had 5 daughters and 1 son with Nicholas. However, Tsarevich, that means young Tsar, Alexei had hemophilia, which few outside the family knew about. And this is what brought Rasputin into the fold. Now, in terms of her political involvement, after August 1915, the Tsarina assumed more political power, as she was Nicholas's main confidant in Petrograd while he went to the front. She showed a reliance and unwavering trust in Rasputin. And she also facilitated, with Rasputin's help, a period of ministerial leapfrog, where they just rolled through different ministers, appointing and dismissing ministers left, right, and center, meaning that Russia was incredibly politically disjointed and unsettled. After the February Revolution, Alexandra and the rest of the Romanov family were put under house arrest in Yekaterinburg. On the 17th of July 1918, the Bolsheviks murdered Alexandra, Nicholas, and their children. So spoiler alert, because that took place during the Civil War, in a couple of years. Ministerial leapfrog. So I'll just go into a bit more detail about this period. Firstly, let's have a look at this poster. We can see Rasputin being the key wielder of power, shielding the Tsarina, who seems to be looking at Rasputin with sort of love in her eyes. And then the very childlike Nicholas, who's got a sort of goofy looking face. Sorry, I'm forgetting words, so I'm using words like goofy, which you shouldn't use in an exam. But he's got a very childlike posture, seems to be sitting on the knee of Rasputin. So this shows that Rasputin held the most power in Petrograd in these final years of the Tsarist regime. Between September 1915 and February 1917, Russia had 4 prime ministers, 4 ministers for education, 3 ministers for foreign affairs, 3 war ministers, 3 ministers of transport, 4 ministers of justice, and 5 ministers of the interior. So they went through a lot of ministers, from prime ministers to war ministers, from ministers of the interior to ministers for education. There was very little continuity in the government, and there was a whole lot of change and disjointedness. The Tsarina accepted Rasputin's advice unconditionally and endorsed any candidate put forward by Rasputin, who was referred to as the Mad Monk. Many of these appointees were incompetent, so they would bribe Rasputin, and he would just appoint the people who he liked at that particular moment. Maurice Paleologue, the French ambassador, wrote to his government saying, "I am obliged to report that at the present moment, the Russian Empire is run by lunatics." It's interesting how the French embassy has played a part in the Russian Revolution and the unsettled nature of the Tsarist regime. Even from Nicholas's even from the coronation of Nicholas, it was his attendance at the French embassy party for his coronation that led to him being referred to as Nicholas the Bloody after the Kudinka Field tragedy. And now we have the French ambassador reporting to his government that the Russian Empire is run by lunatics. Grand Duke Nikolai, who was, if you'll remember, dismissed by the Tsar as commander-in-chief, separately admitted it is now a reign of chaos. So it's a really chaotic time for the Russian government. The murder of Rasputin. So Rasputin, if I hadn't mentioned before, was considered a holy man, but he was actually in, or allegedly in, a sex cult. And he allegedly had affairs with many aristocratic women. This didn't please the aristocratic men. So the husbands of these women were incensed by these allegations and spoke of killing Rasputin. On the 16th of December 1916, Prince Felix Yusupov conspired with 4 others, one of which being a cousin of the Tsar, a Duma deputy, an army officer, and a doctor. Sounds like the beginning of a joke. A cousin of the Tsar, a Duma deputy, an army officer, and a doctor walk into a bar. So Prince Felix Yusupov conspired with these 4 others to murder Rasputin. Yusupov, so this is how the night went down. Yusupov invited Rasputin to his home and fed him poisoned wine and cakes. Rasputin seemed unaffected by the poison. So Yusupov let himself out of the room to conspire with, to consult with his conspirators, and he was handed a gun and went back and shot Rasputin in the back. But Rasputin still lived, and so the group came charging in, shot Rasputin twice more, beat him as he was dying, then wrapped him in a curtain and threw him into the Neva River. Finally, Rasputin was dead. After this, the Tsar and Tsarina became even more isolated from their advisors, ministers, and extended family than they were when Rasputin was alive. And in January 1917, so just a month before the February Revolution, British Ambassador George Buchanan asked Nicholas how he intended to regain the public's confidence, to which Nicholas replied, "Do you mean that I am to regain the confidence of my people, or that they are to regain mine?" So he's completely out of touch with reality. And the murder of Rasputin really set the Tsar and Tsarina on a downward spiral. So that brings us to the end of this video. Our next video will be on the February Revolution. I hope you found this video interesting and useful, and I will see you next time.